Hi everyone, welcome to the Hilton Forrester Show. In this series, I've got Tobias Stevenson with me, and Tobias is an online marketer. And what I would like to do in a moment is get him to actually introduce himself, and I'll go through a series of questions with him. Now, in these podcasts, I'm wanting to go behind the scenes with a lot of people to do their businesses and get some certain nuggets out of what it's like to be a person who's in business, how they actually go through the things like emotions and everything like that. So what I'd like to do, Tobias, is for you to introduce yourself and what you actually do for a living.
Sure. Thanks, Hilton. Thanks very much for having me on. Really appreciate it. Obviously, yeah, as you said, my name's Tobias. At the moment, I'm actually I work in sales currently for a training company in the education sector. But I've obviously been working along the side to set up my own sort of digital online business. Kind of focused on affiliate marketing. And I think. I'm fairly early on in that journey, but it's I guess where it's all come about from is it's been birthed this year really with everything that's gone on with the pandemic, and obviously we've all been through a lot of change this year, but for me personally, it's kind of like completely sparked a whole revolution in terms of how I wanted to live my life, and kind of from where I was 12 months ago to now, not really even thinking about online business or even being aware of it as a thing, as a viable option. The kind of the lockdown and everything that I've been through, which I'm sure we'll get into, has completely changed that and inspired me to give it a go. So that's why I'm here today.
Great. Okay. So, Tobias, why online? Why particularly that particular sector? What moved you towards going that direction?
Sure. Well, I guess I'd always known that I wanted to set up a business one day, and it wasn't really clear on what specifically I would do. But for me, I actually kind of got into it via a series of videos. It was actually a YouTube ad that I'd seen from someone who was talking about this laptop lifestyle and how you can set up your own business working from home around your passions, and through various kind of income streams like affiliate marketing or e-commerce, and how it's actually quite achievable to do that. And they directed me towards a company which I believe you're aware of, called SFM, Six Figure Mentors, who just kind of really opened my mind and my eyes to the world of possibilities out there. And I think the really key thing for me was just this idea that look, the economy is completely shifting, especially now with COVID, to completely being digital and being online, and the best way to kind of make a business around your passions, around your skills, is by getting it out there online and making people aware of it. So I was just kind of completely sold on it, I guess, once I realized that.
Awesome. That's a great answer. So Tobias, when we mentioned the lockdown, and
Yeah.
we've been through two lockdowns here in the UK. Could you then explain, on the first lockdown, how did you go through that? What did you think of it?
Yeah, definitely. That, I guess my experience of it and what it's led me to is really the reason why I'm here and why I'm sort of wanting to put myself out there to talk to people, because I think it's important to kind of be open about these things. So I live by myself. I'm in a kind of a fairly small city centre flat in central Leeds, and obviously I like my own company usually, which is why I live by myself. But obviously coronavirus comes, and I was forced into, like the rest of us, into isolation and lockdown for 3 months, and to not actually kind of see another human being during that time, apart from like through a mask at the checkouts at Asda or whatever it was, or kind of through a screen speaking to my family, to really not interact with a human being properly really affects you, and it really did me at the time, and I think it's it's kind of it's tricky looking back, because it's kind of also been my experience for the whole year in one way or another, is working from home and not really being able to see the people that I love and care about very much, and kind of interact with them in a way that I now realize I relied on a lot for kind of like my inspiration and happiness beforehand. And yeah, having I'm sure we've all felt that to some extent, just having that completely pulled from me, and just so that I was left with literally just me and my thoughts for company, and having to solely rely on myself to create my own kind of day-to-day existence, my own energy. If you're not very careful and deliberate about how you do that, you can very quickly end up in a bit of a rut. And I really did, to be honest. It was it kind of at the time, I don't think I necessarily even realized how much, but I now know, kind of looking back, that I got into quite a deep depression and anxiety at the time.
Okay.
Just quite sort of anxious about everything that was going on, and just living in this kind of, I guess, like a victimhood state, of like, why is this happening, and making it all about me, and I've missed out on 2020, the best year of my life, and all of this stuff, and just existing in this constant negative pattern and loop of sort of thoughts,
Yeah.
about my situation. And obviously, when you do that, you then get the negative emotions that go along with them, and then the judgments about those emotions. So yeah, it was just a complete feedback loop or cycle of negativity, really. And yeah, it really affected me to the point I realized I kind of needed to make a change.
Okay. Great answer. So you mentioned about these thoughts, or when you was in that first pandemic, and I hear you say depressed and like a victim mentality. Could you go expand on that? Well, how did it make you feel?
Yeah. I mean, thinking back, the best word that I can use to describe it is numb, because it was almost like, for the most part, I wasn't really feeling. But I've had quite a lot of time to reflect on why that was, and I've realized now that it wasn't, what I was doing was kind of ignoring the pain that I was feeling, the painful emotions of kind of loneliness, I guess. That was ultimately what it was. Not seeing people, and not being able to interact and see people, it brings about those kind of just feelings of loneliness and emptiness. And I think the day to day was just my alarm would go off, and I'd get up, and all I'd have to do is kind of slink through to my living room and log on and kind of go to work. But I had no desire to be at work, or no desire to really do anything. So I'd feel kind of sad and frustrated about the fact I had to do that. And then I guess just kind of self-pitying the fact that I was in this situation. And what I would do was, when I'd feel that kind of that emotional pain, what I now know was pain, instead of actually like looking into it and trying to work out what was going on, as you would do if you felt a pain when you cut your toe or something like that.
Yeah.
You'd address that pain, right? But with emotional pain, I did the opposite, and I just rejected it, and just decided, no, I don't want this. I don't want to feel that. So I'd numb it with watching Netflix, binging Netflix, playing video games, drinking alcohol, and eating a lot of food all the time, which I've heard a lot of people have been through recently. So yeah, that's why I say numb is the best way to describe it, even though it was like this sort of background negativity. But I guess that was probably some proper negative emotions there that I was just trying to ignore, basically.
Okay, that's a great answer. I think a lot of people have been through a similar thing. I don't know, one of my sons, he suffered a lot through the lockdown. I think he's still got I think a way to come back to normal. He's been affected by it as well. And now we came out of lockdown, and we sort of happily got back to communicating. Now the second lockdown,
Yeah.
how was that? How is
Yeah, it's been tough still. It really has, and I don't think it's because ultimately it's not natural to be in that state, and this is what I'm realizing. I have to keep reminding myself, like it is a lot better because um, I to pull myself out of the state that I was in, I had to find mechanisms to do it because I realized that just numbing it wasn't working anymore, and I got really into spirituality and meditation and
awesome?
sort of self-care, like a lot of stuff which completely changed my life, and that's why I'm kind of wanting to talk about it now because I want to raise awareness for that. But even having those things, there's still tough days because it's not natural to be in this state, and especially when there's all this other stuff going on with the media. And I get a notification on my phone every day of XYZ deaths, and this has happened and that's happened, and I don't want it, but my phone's sending me it anyway. And
Yeah,
when you get that, you just get like this little another pang of sort of anxiety in your mind, another thing that just kind of builds this I don't know, like cocktail of negativity going on all the time. So it's really hard and probably impossible to be in a good state all the time. And I think what I've realized this lockdown is that it obviously ebbs and flows. You have good days and bad days, but what I tend to find is that I'll have peaks and troughs throughout the whole day. Like today I woke up feeling really great, and
yeah,
then by lunchtime I felt awful, and I didn't know why. I just like, oh, I'm done, I've had enough of this, I can't really be bothered anymore. And I can't even put my finger on what it was that set me off, but something would. And fortunately now I have enough awareness to know to kind of just sit with that and let it ride out. And then now I'm speaking to you and I'm in a great mood again. But
okay.
so yeah, it's a bit up and down, to be honest with you, but definitely better than it was in the first one for sure.
Awesome. I think the experience of the first one would help you towards the second one, I guess. But it's just remarkable that how these things affect us. So let's shift gears slightly and go into the online marketing. I know you're at the stage at the moment where you're learning. You've gone going from a journey from maybe eventually maybe dump your job or make a decision to go full time online. Um, but you're going through a transition of learning, and then eventually you decide of what you're actually doing. That's the way how I started um, doing, coming from a construction background and then learning
Mhm.
online marketing. And then what would you say then is that that feeling to go in that direction? How would you describe that for yourself?
Y- I'm wary of this sounding sort of quite corny, but I think it is the honest truth that I feel. I almost feel like a calling to do it, because for me it's not just, I guess I'll start with what I bought came into this. I came into this like I think a lot of people do, with just thinking I want more money, basically. I want more financial freedom, and it was a case of googling ways to make money online, as most people start off doing.
Yes.
um but what I quickly realized when with the SFM, six figure mentors, the training on there, they're big, they sort of say that money won't buy you happiness, and if and sort of having money as your goal, as your why for setting up a business, is not going to be sustainable. So you need to have a why that is bigger than that more often than not is about giving back. And I think that something I'm learning is that we're all wired to feel like our best and our most alive when we're helping other people. And
Yeah.
I've kind of had that in me for quite a while, I think. And um, it's like it's all sort of married together at the right time with everything I've been through in the first lockdown. Realizing that a lot of people have been through something similar, and mental health is obviously been really prevalent for a number of years, but probably now more so than ever. And then realizing that maybe there is a way of combining that with this desire to set up an online business, so that kind of I'm marrying the two together, and that's really what I'm working on. So it was that kind of feeling of, yeah, wow, like I can really strive to do something that's good here, but also that allows me to set up that business and allows me to, yeah, go on that entrepreneurial journey at the same time, basically. So yeah, it's just it's a feeling more than anything.
Awesome, awesome. So eventually you made that decision of moving across onto the entrepreneurship, or you may stay partly employed or whatever you're going to do. But I think what is brilliant is that you're getting the knowledge first of all, because when I first started my journey as a construction worker and then moved into a business owner, there wasn't that education there. You kind of just
Mm,
have to go in and work it out as you go along.
yeah,
And actually being a coach, I see a lot of people making that same mistake. So you certainly in the right place, I think, with the SFM.
mm.
So brilliant. So have you found any disconnection within your family? Do you find that what you tell you when you tell people what you're doing, how was your friends and family
Yeah.
reacted to that?
It's there's always that fear, isn't there, that people won't get this. And I think particularly when you first start doing something like this, because it is so outside of the status quo, there's always that kind of, oh, it's a scam, it's not real, because we all have this kind of built into us of this idea that everybody's out there for themselves, and that the internet's just full of sharks and all this kind of stuff. And um you believe that until you kind of get woken up to the fact that that's not true, and that there's a lot of people out there that really do just want to help, and that there's a lot of stuff out there that makes this achievable, makes it doable. So um I've kind of been battling with that sort of fear of being that open about it, in case people will sort of see it and take it the wrong way. But I've got to be honest, in the conversations I have had, it's been mostly positive, especially with my friends, because I think it started with um me telling them about sort of the spirituality and mental health stuff that I've been coming across, and
Okay,
them being receptive and open to that. And then by saying, well, look, I kind of want to turn this into a business, and this is kind of how they've been really positive to it. And actually, of course, my parents and family have as well. I think there's obviously work to do for them to properly understand it, because it is so different, and it is just it's completely shirking off this again, the status quo idea of that we need a secure job working for someone else in order to sort of have a living. And it's kind of doing away with that, and saying that, look, there are other ways of doing it.
yeah,
But I think probably helps that I'm not in a rush. I'm kind of just taking it as it comes. I've got a good job that I'm fortunate with. I know there are a lot of awful corporate jobs out there. I'm fortunate to be with a job that I've enjoyed. And yeah, I'm able to kind of make it more about what it is that I'm doing, rather than try and make it all about, right, well, I've got to find a way of making a living here and now. I can kind of take my time with it as well.
beautiful. That's great. I guess the key to it is taking your time, like you just mentioned.
Mm,
Because so many people, as you mentioned before, get involved in the online world trying to make money, and you do see all this bling bling, the flash cars, and this person
yeah, that's it. Look at my
they click
Lamborghini.
they've clicked three buttons and now they're a millionaire. That's what you actually you come across a lot of that, and as I'm becoming more experienced in it, I tend to listen behind the rubbish, you could say, and understand that
Mm,
it takes years to get really good at it, and you're
yeah.
starting out brilliantly in regards to what you're doing. Because if you decide to do it properly, and it takes 5 years to get to that level of
Mm,
understanding the mechanics of it and all that kind of thing, is it's really good. So when you
mm.
mention your job, what exactly do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I work in sales, so I'm an account manager for a training company, an education company. So it's sales basically, but obviously it's not just kind of like hard fast picking up the phone and like Wolf of Wall Street kind of boiler room, as they call it, just
Yeah.
trying to make loads of money. There is kind of a nuance to it, and actually feeling like you're giving a bit of value. Obviously it's interesting. I think it kind of ties in with the SFM, because what I work in education and training, and
Okay.
a whole part of my job is trying to convince people with not a lot of money that investing in education is needed and it's important. And we see so much stuff about, like, the digital skills gap, for instance, that's coming that's more prevalent than ever. And now COVID's come about, and it's like it's accelerated the way the economy and the way that business has been going forward by, I think, like some estimates said, by about 8 years.
Okay.
And I've seen that with my customers where they've kind of adopted all these technologies, and so obviously that's kind of my role there. And then at the same time, I'm trying to convince myself, but also those around me, to kind of invest in ourselves and to reskill as well. So it's quite an interesting parallel there as well, I think.
Good. Okay. If one of the things I hear you saying as well before about the world itself, how we all connected and things like that. If there was a way you wanted to impact the world, like for instance, you got your SFM journey going, and you've got everything intact, and you're out there doing you say your affiliate marketing. What impact would you want to have on the world itself, you think?
That's a big question, and it's a difficult one to kind of narrow down into a quick question. For me, I think the clearest thing that I've realised since getting into spirituality and understanding, the concept of how our minds work, and kind of, how a lot of us, and I think certainly I was, during the first lockdown, for example, are controlled and governed by like our like instincts and our kind of desires and our base desires, and we kind of just go off of living our lives trying to appease those desires, right? So that's kind of almost where consumerism and capitalism seems to come from. It feeds off that kind of always wanting more of that kind of we get subconsciously.
Yeah.
And I think if it so many of the problems that we've got in the world, climate change, all this stuff, seem to stem from that one issue of us as humans always wanting more and not knowing when we've had enough. And it's like this kind of paradox of like, actually nothing is enough, because we've already got everything that we need at the moment.
Yes.
And when you kind of get into spiritual practice and get into that practice of creating distance between yourself and your thoughts and your desires, you start to realize that you can live more consciously, and you might feel a desire or an emotion or a thought come up, but you don't have to succumb to that. You can kind of choose to point yourself differently. And I feel like if everybody kind of really understood that, we probably wouldn't have the number of issues we do.
Yeah.
Because so much of it is caused by this unchecked consumerism that's just completely out of control, and this idea that it's growth without limitation, which just doesn't really work. So that for me, I guess, is kind of my mission, is to start spreading a bit of awareness to that, because I was just completely unaware of this stuff until 6 months ago. I've been through nearly 20 years of formal education, and I had no clue how my mind worked. I had no clue that a lot of the stuff going on in my head wasn't me. It was just sort of subconscious thoughts and instinctive like desires that I thought, if I follow this is going to give me happiness and it's going to give me meaning. And all it would do is lead me to getting the thing that I was after, feeling satisfied for about 10 minutes, and then on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And it's just this pattern that never leads anywhere. And it's funny speaking to my friends and family, everybody feels that and everybody notices it. And when we sort of try and plug that and distract it with more things, the next iPhone, the newer car, the newer holiday, the bigger holiday, the next TV show, and it's just a constant wanting for more. And the only answer is to create a bit of space from that and realize that there'll never be enough, and we've already got everything that we need right here.
Awesome. I'm really impressed with you. Apart from the fact that you're 6'5" tall. But you've got
I'm 6'6" on a good day.
Oh yes, that's good. Yeah. That's lovely. You must get some people teasing you about that. Might be honestly, a basketball player.
Oh, I had it in the supermarket last week. Yeah, it's a constant thing. But it's kind of part of it, isn't it? It's nice. And sometimes you get help. help little ladies get some things off the top shelf, and yeah,
If you're a
it's
painter,
nice.
you don't need the ladder, do you? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that's good. So where are you getting your awareness from? Is there certain I would say videos, books, or something like that? How did you
Mhm.
get your awareness, your mindset stuff?
Yeah, lots of things. So the thing that first opened me up to this was a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
book. I was actually listening to the audio book. Actually, I'm mainly an Audible, audio book guy.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I listened to that really opened me up to the concept of ego and of this kind of battle that we've all got going on in our minds.
Yes.
So that was the start of it. From there, I just started my mind was blown open, and I was like, I want to learn as much as I can about this. And I'd been meditating for a little while, kind of doing it because I'd it was a nice thing to do. But after that, I really got into actually understanding what mindfulness is, and what kind of, I guess, Buddhist meditation is actually about, in terms of this idea of, we are a consciousness, and then we've got our minds that are different, and a kind of, you create an ego there. So I have an app called Calm, which I think many people will know, that I meditate on daily.
Okay.
But in terms of, I think most of my stuff come from two podcasts in particular, the School of Greatness and Jay Shetty's on Purpose. But
Yeah.
actually, to be honest, I think those are two of the biggest ones. But there's so many out there, isn't there? With even yours as well, which I've been listening to recently. There's so many out there that provide great value, and I think it's just about picking a couple, and just kind of absorbing what comes up from there. And the great thing about podcasts like this, and you get a range of people that come on, and you hear all these different ideas across such a broad spectrum, and you start to realize how it is all connected.
Yes.
That's been the biggest thing for me, is coming from, our formal education system kind of teaches us to specialize in something, and you get a really narrow, limited view of the world according to biology, or the world according to history. But when you kind of take the blinkers off, and look at it as just life, as just all these different things, you realize how connected it all is. So yeah, I've gone off on a bit of tangent there, but it's a lot of audiobooks, it's a lot of podcasts, and just consuming whatever I can that teaches me something new, I guess.
Yeah. Great. So that's where it starts. So you mentioned in your answer there, meditation.
Mhm.
Can you expand on that? Is there a routine you do, or do you actually just?
Yeah. So I start on the Calm app. They do something called the Daily Calm, which is guided meditation. It's about 10 minutes, and that's really good because it's a different sort of topic area each day. They might go
Okay.
through on kind of emotions one day, or kind of creating space from anger. Different what they call mindfulness practices, basically, which is really great. What I actually do now, I do 30 minutes unguided, but kind of doing something which I learned from a website, a company called Mind Valley.
Oh
The
yes, I know
owner there,
mine.
Vishen Lakhiani. I did a course with him, and it's called the 6 phase meditation. So it goes through, and there's a lot of science to back this up. If anyone is listening and skeptical of meditation, I'd just say please go and look at the science, because it's there now. It's basically, there's a difference between passive and active meditation. Passive is kind of just sitting with your thoughts, and just creating space and focusing on your breathing, and that's really good for a lot of kind of the biology in your body, and just getting rid of cortisol, the stress hormone, and things like that, just creating a little bit more peace. Active meditation is more kind of trying to almost create new wirings in your mind, so
Okay. Okay.
make you think and feel things differently. So it goes through 6 phases of kind of the best things for this, which is compassion, kind of generating more compassion and understanding for other people. Gratitude, which is probably the most important thing I think anyone can do to improve their mental health. Just finding things to feel grateful for, and there's a lot of science to back up how that helps.
Yes.
Um, then it's a forgiveness exercise. We all, myself particularly, when can hold on to little grudges or nigglings about what people have done, and often they can be really small, but it will store that negative energy somewhere within you, and that will eat away at you. And
Yeah.
that's largely what was happening to me in the first lockdown. I was holding on to this stuff about a friend of mine, and I just if you don't practice letting that go, it will eat at you. So that's the third bit. And then it's envisioning my day and my future. So I picture what I want to come to me. If you've ever heard of the law of attraction, that feeds into that. I won't go down that rabbit hole here, but it is
Yeah.
great to at least have your mind set on something that you want to achieve, and
Yeah.
that's been really great for me. And then the same with kind of intending your day, and then the final part is just a kind of a blessing of sorts, basically, just sort of I guess in a way a prayer, which I never thought I'd hear myself say. I grew up such a skeptical person of religion, but it is really it's kind of just I guess just accepting that we're so small and insignificant. Well, not insignificant, but you know what I mean, small and vulnerable, and just being humble to that fact, and just asking for a good day ahead, and just I find that doing that just really sets me off in a good start to the day.
Beautiful. I think when you get your online marketing going, I'll be buying one of your courses.
Thank you. We've got a bit of work to do first, but yeah, let's hope so.
No, but that is something what I think a lot of people need. I meditate as well in the morning, so
Brilliant.
I can swear by it. It's vastly helped what I do. The connections and the way my world is changing. Because I think it's a lot of people needs to. It's obviously a Western kind of thing, and an Eastern way, and we bring it into the West now. I think a lot of people are involved in that, which is
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
good.
How long have you been doing it for?
I've been doing it about 2 years, but over the last 6 months, I started doing it deeper, and I use a
Mm.
meditation. Dr. Joe Dispenza, you may have known
Yeah,
him.
no, yeah,
He,
yes,
he
yeah,
he's
yeah.
spot on for me, and I just like the way how he actually explains everything, and this, like you said, the science behind it, why it works, and things like that. And when you actually feel it as well,
Yeah,
it's a different thing to when you're actually just consciously reading or whatever.
yeah. It's so important, so important. I think it was something that I had. I think it was thoughts are the language of the mind, and emotions are the language of the body. And I
Yes,
think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza who says something around kind of in the quantum realm, or something like that. Like thoughts put a signal out there, and emotions kind of draw that signal back to you. It's actually
yes.
feeling it that brings more of what you want towards you, which is why gratitude is such a good practice.
Absolutely, and over this pandemic, it has been, I think, a way of actually. I start my day with that, with the
Mm.
gratitude.
Oh,
Sometimes I
brilliant.
write them down, 3 or 4 items. I do this thing with my fingers, going through 10 items which I'm grateful for, and then
Mm.
have a cold shower, and then go from there. But
Yeah.
it's
You've got to love the cold showers. It's great, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it's all the I think the way how the world is changing, really.
Mm.
So brilliant. So before I ask my last question,
Yeah.
where can people find you online and that? I know you're starting out, but you've got some
Yeah,
ideas.
it's early days, to be honest. I'm working on my website. It's not ready yet, but I do have an Instagram page that I've created that I will be putting content out. I haven't quite got to it yet, but it's Tobias Matthew. Matthew's my middle name, which I'll be going with for my branding, just because I find it a bit easier to remember than Stevenson.
Uh,
So Tobias Matthew, Tobias Matthew, and underscore just after that on
okay,
Instagram.
awesome. The last question is going to be a testing one as well. So are you ready for
I'm all
this?
for it.
Oh,
Yeah, all
good.
for it.
Okay.
Hit me up.
Remember the film, the Fantastic Four?
I certainly do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And they all had superpowers. Yeah. If you had a
Yeah.
superpower, what would it be and why?
Is it just out of those four, or is it any
Any
superpower?
superpower.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a good one. I have to say, for me, it would be. I'm trying to think how to word this properly, because it's not like a sort of comic book superpower, but it would basically be the power of kind of absolute communication. You know, being able to not just talk to someone, but for them to properly understand what's going on in your head, and kind of just feel and understand everything that's led you to believe that way. And then, you know, myself to be able to do that too. If we could do that, if everyone could do that, there would be literally no problems in the world. Because I think the problems of human communication are, you know, are what cause so many issues, isn't it? And yeah, it'd be great to just be able to properly convey, you know, my own viewpoint and get that from someone else. And yeah, I think that would probably have to be it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tobias. That was incredible. Because I think for a young man, you're certainly switched on, and you've got your life ahead of you, and I totally wish you the best, especially if you're transitioning into the online marketing world with a purpose, with a goal, with a dream. You're on the right course, man. So
thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, bye.